Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Brianna Mosier with the Flint and Genesee Chamber of Commerce. Over the last few weeks, we've been running a webinar series highlighting some of the great community resources available to us right here in Genesee County. Today, I am joined by a wonderful panel of individuals to discuss the futures for Frontliners program. We're going to do a quick round robin of introductions, and I'm going to start with Ty. So Ty, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're joining us from.
Hi, I'm joining you from home. My name is Ty Kraus, and I am the Business Services Manager for Genesee County and Shiawassee County for GST Michigan Works.
Thank you so much for being with us today, and you'll be back to help answer all of the Q&A later today. But yes, thanks for joining. Erica?
Good morning. My name is Erica Luce, and I'm with the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity within Workforce Development, and I'm the Manager of Adult Education.
Thank you, Erica. Ava?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ava Atari, and I'm the Director for Futures for Frontliners.
Thank you, Ava. And Carrie, who will be kicking us off, let's hear from you.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Carrie Ebersol, I'm the director of the 60 by 30 office within Labor and Economic Opportunity, helping lead a key initiative for the state. So we're really excited to have this conversation today.
Great. So before we get into our slides, just a couple of quick housekeeping items for those who are joining us live on Facebook or YouTube. Feel free to type your comments and questions in the chat at any time. We'll have time to address them at the end, and our presenters will be paying attention as well if they want to bring it up in the moment. But yes, we will be taking a look at those in the end. Very excited to discuss this opportunity for our local employers. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see our slides. And Carrie, you can kick us off.
Awesome. Thank you, Brianna. Futures for Frontliners. This is what we're here to talk about. I'm gonna start us off talking a little bit about the 60 by 2030 effort. And, it's one of those things that we want to, I want to give some context, big picture, before we dig into some of the details on this extraordinary program with Futures for Frontliners. So we can click on through to the next slide. And as many of you are thinking, what the heck is 60 by 2030? Well, let me tell you, this was included in Governor Whitmer's first State of the State address, and she outlined this goal of raising educational attainment to 60% by the year 2030 for all working age adults. So this is a pretty aggressive goal, but it's key for many of areas which we'll walk through. But we need to do a couple of things to accomplish that. One is close the skills gap. So the best jobs, higher wages, some recession-proof jobs require more than a high school education. We need to increase opportunity, create pathways for individuals to pursue better paychecks and a more prosperous future for their families. And also, we need to make sure this isn't just about increasing our talented workforce. We need to do the job matching piece. We need to empower our businesses with the most talented workforce in the world so they can compete in today's economy and the economy of the future. Next slide, please. So this is one of, why 60% by 2030? Why is this important? So all the data that reflects that Michigan no longer is the exception to the rule. As prior generations knew that there were many, great jobs that didn't necessarily require post-secondary credentials. Unfortunately, that is no longer, we are no longer the exception here in Michigan. And what we are seeing is education attainment is directly tied to incomes. And you can see here from this chart how Michigan, unfortunately, has dropped in income, and as well as our post-secondary education attainment. Next slide, which also reflects on how attainment equals income. And you'll see income by education in the green graph level 5 years after graduation. And then the blue side talks about unemployment by education level 5 years after graduation. So you can see, you know, the unemployment for those with less than a high school degree is higher within the blue markers there. And this is the trend that we need to reverse, and what we think we can do by creating pathways to post-secondary credentials. Next slide, please. So let's put this a little bit in context of other states. Some of you may have heard about the Tennessee Reconnect program. And you can see Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, New Jersey, California, and then finally Michigan. And this is something that I know I am a very competitive person by nature, and to see other states like Tennessee and Kentucky doing twice as better than we are as it relates to attainment growth since 2014, we can't let that stand. And keep in mind, you know, as we provide pathways to those credentials, it creates an attraction mechanism to draw employers into our state. So this is going to be an important piece of the equation over time. And you can see kind of the path that we're on as it relates to closing the attainment gap by state percentage-wise. And unfortunately, we're just no longer making up ground there. Next slide, please. So briefly, how are we approaching this work? How do we get back? One is post-secondary enrollment. So Futures for Frontliners are one of those programs. The Going Pro Talent Fund is another. Reconnect program, which will be launching next year. Skills to Work are all pieces of the equation. At this point in time, the My Opportunity Scholarship is not funded, and we can't launch that, but we want to help create avenues for those high school grads and adults, or those without a high school diploma, to have a path forward in getting additional credentials. And you're going to hear more about what we're seeing with our applications around the Futures for Frontliners program. But this isn't just about applications. This is about completion. And it's going to take a lot of wraparound supports within the communities, whether that's at the community colleges, at the Michigan Works offices, or with nonprofits in the community to help support these learners to get to completion. We're also very focused on how do we increase apprenticeships, because we recognize that a number of professions and individuals, you need to work to learn, and apprenticeships are a key piece in achieving that. And then last, but certainly not least, is net migration. How do we reverse the flow of skilled workers? And that's both domestic and international. And we're working very closely with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation to create programs that will help attract folks to Michigan, recognizing that there are a number of jobs annually that go unfilled because of the lack of the skilled workforce. So those are some of the levers that we need to pull to help us get on track and creating and achieving our post-secondary attainment goals, the 60% by 2030. Next slide. So this is where I'm going to do the handoff over to Ava Atari, who is our program director for the Futures for Frontliners program, to walk through this really exciting program that we've seen an outpouring of folks interested in receiving this scholarship. So Ava, please take it away.
Thanks so much, Carrie. So as many of you may know, Michigan Reconnect, as Carrie mentioned, was one of the governor's top legislative items to help us work towards this 60 by 30 goal. Now, Reconnect was passed with strong bipartisan support last year, but all funding for new programs had to be repurposed to address more immediate needs when the COVID-19 epidemic hit. So the program was placed on pause at the time. The governor had one-time federal funds related to COVID-19 that the legislature authorized her to appropriate. And in recognizing how many of our Michiganders had to put their health and lives on the line during our state shutdown, she proposed this one-time scholarship program to show gratitude to our frontline workers and help us take a step towards this 60 by 30 state goal until programs like Reconnect and Going Pro could be funded and launched. So in sum, Futures for Frontliners is a new state scholarship program launched on September 10th of this year for frontline workers without college degrees who worked in essential industries during our state shutdown and helped our state continue to function while many of us were required to stay at home. So the scholarship provides them with tuition-free access to Michigan's public community colleges to pursue an associate's degree or industry-recognized certificate. Next slide, please. Wonderful. So this scholarship provides two pathways to community college. It just depends on where in their life the frontline worker is. Specifically, do they have their high school diploma or equivalent already? And are they ready to jump into community college? Or do they maybe need to complete their high school diploma or equivalent either before they go into community college or while they're dually enrolled? So again, both pathways lead to community college. It's just whether high school completion courses or skills training are needed first or not. Next slide. So the scholarship is last dollar, and that means that the Pell Grant and any tuition restricted scholarship or award will be applied first before Futures for Frontliners funding. The scholarship covers tuition, mandatory fees, and contact hours. Now, the cost of attending community college will depend on whether the applicant's attending their local community college. So that's the community college that they're considered in district for. And scholarship recipients who are not in district for any of the community colleges or maybe choose to attend a community college out of their district will still have their in-district costs covered by Futures for Frontliners, but will be responsible for the difference between the in and out of district costs. Now, non-tuition restricted gift aid or awards will not be subtracted, so Futures for Frontliners recipients can use those funds towards books and other expenses. You know, we know that there's more than just tuition costs that make going back to school a reality for a lot of folks. Next slide. So if you haven't had a chance to visit our website yet, we strongly encourage you to. We've truly tried to make it a resource for all, and we hope that it is. If you have comments or feedback for us, always open to hearing those. But generally, you can find information about the scholarship, high demand careers that can be found on our homepage. And each of the pathways that I mentioned earlier, we like to call them Path 1 and Path 2. They have their own landing page on our website with separate application links and resources as well to help the applicants through the process, including frequently asked question pages as well. You can find questions like, what is an essential industry or frontline worker? What if I want to transfer schools? How long can I keep the scholarship? So we've really tried to anticipate the kind of questions that the public would have and try to answer those. Now, the deadline for both applications is December 31st of this year, whether folks are in Path 1 or Path 2, as they'll need to enter into classes in 2021. Next slide. So I won't run through this slide too much, but I did want to say, give you a small snapshot of the combined self-reported demographics that we've been seeing of this population. We've had an incredible number of applications so far, which is very exciting for us. We've received just over 85,000 for both pathways combined. Right now, we're seeing close to 70% of our applicants so far are women. We're seeing a wide range in ages. About 30% are up to the age of 24, and 70% are 25 and older. We're also seeing a varied ethnic and racial breakdown of our applicants as well. About 59% identify as white Caucasian, 26% Black or African American, 5% Hispanic Latinx, 4% two or more races, 1% Asian, and 1% American Indian, Hawaiian, Native Alaskan, Pacific Islander. So this is very exciting for us. There's clearly a lot of interest in the program, and we hope that folks will continue to apply as well. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to quickly guide us through Path 1, which I mentioned earlier. Just one of the pathways to community college is for frontline workers who already have their high school diploma or equivalent. Next. So here, I won't run through all of these requirements. These are the overall eligibility requirements for Path 1, overall for both pathways, excuse me. But if you hit next on the slide, I think there's one more that's going to come up. This one, thank you, is specifically for Path 1. So these are applicants, again, who must have their high school diploma or equivalent for this pathway specifically. And I wanted to note two more things about this pathway specifically. One, there is no minimum or maximum age limit. That means if an applicant meets all of these eligibility requirements, but they're 17, they received their high school diploma last year, they're ready to go to community college, you don't have to wait to be 18 to do so. Please apply. And if you're over the age of 60, or if you're in between, you're eligible for this scholarship, and we hope that folks will apply for this opportunity. The second that I wanted to mention is if a frontline worker already earned an industry recognized certificate in the past, but hasn't yet earned their associate or bachelor's degree yet, still eligible for this scholarship, please apply. And the same can be said for a frontline worker who's currently enrolled in an associate degree program right now, but hasn't finished yet or received their associate or bachelor's degree yet. So still eligible for the program, and hope you'll apply. Next slide, please. So for the process for Path 1, the first step is to complete the scholarship application online. Applicants will receive a confirmation email after they've submitted the application. And then 7 to 10 business days later, we'll email the applicant again to let them know either they've been accepted in their application and they can move forward, or maybe we need more information to determine their eligibility. If we need more information, it's likely because we didn't have wage record data on them. Maybe they were self-employed or paid in cash or a temp or contract worker. So we'll ask those individuals to complete a one-page employment verification form with their employer and then return it back to us. I mentioned earlier, received an incredible number of applications so far. Within the first 2 days of launching the program, we had about 40,000 applications. So we're working through a bit of a backlog at the moment and on a 5-week delay in responding to individuals about their application status after we've asked them to provide more information. We're working through that as quickly as possible right now. If we have questions about the form, we'll follow up with the applicant or the employer as needed and then process their form. There is contact information on the form as well in case the applicant or the employer has questions about completing it. We encourage you to call our customer care center. I'm happy to help guide you through the process. One other thing I wanted to mention for Path 1, we're working closely with Treasury. So from designing the scholarship application to the actual tuition payment. So when filling out the application, applicants are required to create a username and password for the Michigan Student Scholarships and Grants student portal, also known as MySSG, where they can check on their application status as well. Next slide. So once an application's been processed, an applicant's been accepted, they've been determined to be eligible, there's a couple of steps that they're going to need to go through in order to actually receive the award. They're going to need to apply to their local community college or one of the Michigan public community colleges, apply for federal aid. I mentioned earlier that this program is last dollar after the Pell Grant, so they'll have to submit a FAFSA, and they'll need to enroll at least half-time in a Pell eligible program leading to an associate degree or industry recognized certificate, and enroll in classes starting in 2021. You can begin as early as winter of 2021, which is coming up soon. I believe that's January of next year. And then as late as fall semester in 2021, but once fall semester is passed, individuals will no longer be eligible to receive their scholarship funds if they miss that time. For this pathway, I mentioned earlier our website, we've tried to create it to be a true resource. We have a college checklist on there. It helps applicants keep track of these steps. It has some guidance as well about how to complete each of them. The checklist can be viewed directly on our website, but also printed and downloaded as well. Next slide. Great, so like any scholarship I mentioned, Treasury will be working directly with the applicants with the colleges and the scholarship recipients to handle the tuition payment process. I mentioned earlier that the scholarship is last dollar, so we need to consider those funds first before Futures for Frontliners. And some examples to exclude, the Promise Zone Authority and the Michigan Education Trust are not considered to be subtracted from the scholarship award, so those funds can be used separately. And I mentioned earlier that Future Frontliners covers tuition, mandatory fees, and contact hours. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip to the next slide. Great. So once a recipient's gone through all of those steps, they've submitted their FAFSA, they've applied to school, they've enrolled, they've been accepted as a Futures Frontliner scholarship recipient. There's a couple of requirements that they'll need to meet in order to keep their award. Those are listed on the slide. I won't go through those, but as long as they meet those requirements, they can continue to keep the award until one of two things happens, whichever comes first. Either it's been 4 years since Treasury received their first tuition payment, or the recipient receives their associate's degree. So here I'm actually going to pass it off to Erica. She's going to run us through Path 2.
All right, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Erica Lutz, and I am going to walk through Path 2 of the Futures for Frontliners program. Good. Thank you. And Path 2 is for frontline workers who need to complete their high school diploma or equivalent. Based on labor market information, there are about 125,000 essential workers that do not currently have a high school diploma or equivalent. So we're really excited to be able to offer this path to re-engage those individuals that may need to still complete their high school diploma and get them on that path to, a better job. One of the things I do want to point out, as Ava mentioned, there's been a tremendous response and over 85,000 applicants in general for the program. For Path 2 specifically, we've had about 3,400 of those are applying to Path 2. And so we know that there are more individuals out there that would be eligible for the program. So definitely still trying to get out the word and appreciate any assistance in doing that. So next slide, I'll talk through the eligibility for the scholarship. As Ava mentioned, both paths are pretty similar as far as requiring that frontline work experience. So that's what you see there. And if you hit next one more time, I'll share the highlighted is the eligibility requirements that are specific to those on Path 2. And that's that they don't have a high school diploma or equivalent as of the end of the application period, which is on December 31st. And they cannot currently be enrolled in high school or required to be enrolled. And so with that, we do require individuals to be 18 years of age. So that's a question we do get frequently for current high school students if they're eligible. And unfortunately, they would not be eligible for this program. And I'd also add those that are in adult education right now and are working on their high school diploma or, hope to have their equivalency, maybe taking a GED test later this month. If they plan to have that credential by the end of the application period, then they should apply for Path 1 directly to a community college. There isn't the ability to transfer between the paths. So that's another question that we often get and just want to make sure that that's clear. Whichever path you're applying to, you do have to complete that application. So for that application on Path 2 also has an online application form. We've tried to make it as simple as possible to complete. And so the application takes probably about 10 minutes to complete. It's going to ask individuals for their contact information. It does require an email address. That's how we are communicating with our applicants and notifying them of their status. It also requires a social security number. We are trying to verify their frontline work experience through data match with unemployment insurance wage records. So that social security number is critical to do that. There are certain types of employment that Ava mentioned that aren't included in the wage records. And so we do have the employment verification form for Path 2 as well. It's a pretty much identical form. It's going to have the applicant's contact information at the top. Then Part 2 is completed by their employer, whether it be their supervisor, an HR representative, or someone within their work that's going to verify their work experience, that they've met that criteria defined. The only difference for the Path 2 form is where the completed form is sent. So for Path 1, the completed form is sent to Treasury. For Path 2, it's going to be sent to our office. And I think that that's really important to note because we have received some questions from applicants that are a little unsure about completing the form or asking their employer to complete the form, because they've said maybe their employer doesn't know that they don't have their high school diploma, and that's an uncomfortable conversation, one that they didn't want to have with them. So we've made sure that to let them know that there's nothing on the form that is going to identify their prior education, and please, encourage them to complete that, because it really is, for their benefit to take advantage of this program. So again, we do have a large number of individuals that we've asked to complete that form. And so getting that support to get those completed and submitted helps us to process their applications and get the most individuals accepted to the program that we can. So once an applicant has been accepted, whether through the data match or they've completed the employment verification form if needed, their next step is then to enroll in a state-approved adult education program, and they must begin classes in 2021. And it's really at any point in 2021. And I think that that's an important point to make, especially now. Many of our adult education programs have reported declining enrollment, or students that are unsure whether they can juggle classes and come back, especially if they, have a family at home, or potentially they're still working and maybe even working additional hours. So we've made sure to let them know they don't have to start classes right now if now isn't a good time. It could be in the spring of 2021 or later, but completing that application at least keeps you in the mix and makes these benefits available to you when you're ready. The other thing that I'd note as far as a state-approved adult education program is it means that that program receives state or federal funds from our office. And that's just to ensure the quality and consistency of the programming that's offered across the state. So we do have this information is available on the Frontliners website to find a program near you if a student isn't sure of which adult education program is near them or best meets their needs. So we do have some questions that we ask on the application, and our office is available to assist to make that connection to ensure that they're matched up with a program that's not only closest to them, but also will meet their needs. And we also try and encourage our students to remember that they can either be dually enrolled in adult education and a community college or job training program if they'd like to. That really accelerates their learning, contextualizes it. But they can also complete the program sequentially if that doesn't fit their needs and their schedule. So they can work on their high school diploma or equivalent, earn that, and then go into a job training or community college program if they would like. But I'd also add that Path 2 does allow for both of those services, because that's often another question that we receive. So as I just mentioned, for Path 2, the funding is going to cover individuals to take classes to get their high school completion or equivalency to prepare for that. It is also going to offer career advising and navigation. Many of our students come back to adult education and they're unsure of what they want to do. Maybe they have an idea, but they're not exactly sure what steps to take in order to get there. So career advisors or navigators will work with them to identify, the steps that they need to take. If they choose the route of high school equivalency testing rather than a high school diploma, those testing fees would be covered. And then also it is that last dollar scholarship for a community college or job training program. So they receive all of those benefits on Path 2. It's not just the high school completion. So we want to make sure that that's clear to everyone. One of the other unique things about Path 2 or differences from Path 1 are the post-secondary education training options that are available to participants. So all of the programs must lead to an industry recognized credential or an associate degree. So as you see, the first is they can enroll in a training or associate degree program at Michigan Community College. In addition to that, Path 2 participants can take advantage of a training opportunity that's available on Michigan Training Connect, and they would work with their Michigan Works agencies to identify the training that's best for them. Or they can participate in a state-approved adult education, what's called an integrated education and training program, again, that leads to an industry-recognized credential. But integrated education and training programs are where their adult basic skills are integrated with an occupational training program. So they're really doing both at the same time. So we do have a number of adult education programs that offer these across the state. The one difference is it must lead to an industry recognized credential, because not often or not always is that the case. So once a participant has been approved and is on path to maintain the award, they must continue to be a Michigan resident. So again, this is only available to Michigan residents that live and work in Michigan. And then specific to the adult education piece, they must regularly attend their adult education and training program, satisfying local attendance requirements. So if they were to leave the program for an extended period, then they would no longer be eligible for the benefits. If it's an approved absence, if they had something come up and they needed to take a break or leave of absence, that's absolutely allowable. But if they do leave, then they are no longer eligible to continue in the program. And then again, making the grade point average requirements and satisfactory progress once they're in the community college or training program. They must also complete the FAFSA annually to maintain their award. And as Ava had mentioned, the Futures for Frontliners Scholarship is available for up to 4 years from when the individual enrolls for Path 2. It's from the date that they enroll in adult education or until they earn that industry recognized credential or associate degree. So we want to make sure that everyone is aware. Our marketing and communications team has just done a phenomenal job putting together some resources to help get out the word. We have a Champions Toolkit that's available on the Futures for Frontliners website. So you see a link there. They've put together a lot of print and digital resources. There's sample emails, press releases, a lot of materials that anyone is able to download and to use to spread the word. We also have some materials that are available translated in Spanish and Arabic if you work with populations that could benefit from those materials. So definitely want to make sure that everyone is aware of the resources available to you, and please use those as you need. And lastly, one of the things that we're starting to work on is as we're nearing the end of the application period. So again, that deadline to apply for both paths is December 31st. Again, enrolling in classes in 2021. So what we're working on with our marketing team is to put together some some graphics to count down to the end of the application period. So some samples are shown there. You can download and use those graphics at the links there. And again, we'll be sharing this presentation, so you will have this information. So please make sure that you're helping us get out the word, both that individuals are eligible and the application period will be ending at the end of this year. I think that's the end of our formal presentation, and we're definitely happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Give me a minute to bring everyone back here. You know what I love about programs like this is we see so many people leaving the state to look for opportunity, and it is right here. Like, we are providing the opportunity for individuals to be successful in Michigan, and I think that's one of the biggest highlights of this program. And kind of like Ava said when she was presenting, it is a big thank you to our frontline workers, who were right out there in the face of everything during the beginning of the pandemic. Ava, I know you said that you can find this in the frequently asked questions on the website, but can you just give us an example of what industries those frontline workers might be in, so those who might be listening, whether they be individuals or employers, know who qualifies?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And definitely one we get a lot, which is why we wanted to put it on our website. In between April 1st to June 30th, there were a list of essential industries that were required to continue working outside of their home. There are folks who worked in healthcare. They worked in public works, first responders, public safety. We've got folks in manufacturing as well. So there is a wide list, and it is on our website. And actually, if you click on each of them, they're hyperlinked, and they'll have some sample employers on there as well that I wanted to mention. You know, these are folks who they worked in our grocery stores. They did takeout delivery food for us. They went around and delivered our mail and packages, drove our buses and taxis. So these are, individuals who had to keep our state functioning while many of us were able to safely sit at home and work remotely. So Yeah.
Yes, great initiative. Big thank you. Ty, how can GST Michigan Works help? You got to come off of mute real quick. That always helps.
Thank you. That helped. Two things. If you're a frontliner and you come to GST Michigan Works, our career coaches can help you identify a career path that might suit you, and they really can point you in the right direction. If you're an employer, what we want to do is encourage you as an employer to take advantage of this program. It is a fantastic program, and getting folks the education that they need and the skills that they need, certifications that are transferable, very key to career moves, and we promote that in a huge way. So we can help in those two areas.
Yeah, so from an employee retention standpoint, employers would definitely want to take advantage of this program to close the skill gap, upskill the employees that they have to potentially move them around in different positions within their own organization. Is that the intent from the employer standpoint?
Absolutely.
Awesome. And Carrie, I know that you mentioned one of the other initiatives that was currently in line with this, the Going Pro Talent Fund. Ty, I'll give you a quick opportunity to plug that because the deadline is coming up very quick. Do you want to just give us a quick note about that?
Thank you. Going Pro Talent Fund, excellent way to fund the training of your employees, to upskill your employees. The application date started at the beginning of the month in November. The end is coming soon. November 30th is the deadline, 5:00 p.m. Please contact us if you're an employer and you're interested in the Going Pro Talent Fund. An excellent way. We'll have to get to you and tell you how you can make that happen, how you can apply for those funds. Our phone number real quick, 810-233-5974. And I'll place it down here along with our website address, and just contact us if you're interested, and we can definitely get you going on that.
Thank you, Ty. We did a webinar on that program November 2nd. So if you're interested in learning more, you can find that on our Facebook page, our YouTube page. All of the contact information for the panel that we had earlier this month is in the description box. So Ty, your website, your phone number, email address, everything is out there for individuals to find. And we're more than happy to help too at the Flint and Genesee Chamber of Commerce. One note I made here, so I can't remember which, I think it might have been Ava who talked about the in-district community colleges. Can you tell us which in-district community college would be applicable for Genesee County? If you know off the top of your head.
That's a great question that I actually don't know off the top of my head. But I should.
Well, I do. I was hoping that you could give a quick plug, but I will gladly. Mott Community College, they're great community partners of ours, and they are our in-district community college. I know a lot of individuals who started their college career out there and received a wonderful education, had great things to say about their professors. So they are our in-district community college for those who are listening and might be wondering where they would go if they applied. And I think, Ava, it was also you who said that once you apply 7 to 10 days later, you can expect to hear back. That's the standard window, and it might be a little bit longer if follow-up information is needed.
Exactly. Yeah. So once an individual hits submit on their application, they'll get a confirmation email from us. And then 7 to 10 business days later, we'll let them know either they've been accepted or we need more information from them to move forward.
Okay, great. And I don't see any questions coming through from Facebook or YouTube. So if you guys could just one more time remind us of the deadlines. They're coming up quick. The last few weeks of this year are going to fly by. So again, end of the month for the Going Pro Talent Fund, and the deadline for this scholarship opportunity is when?
December 31.
December 31. So just a few more weeks left. Erica did a great job of sharing some of the resources on how you can help spread the word, whether you be an employer or just an informed citizen. I'm sure everyone can think of one person that they know who would apply for this scholarship program, and why not take advantage again of these great opportunities available to us right here in our state. So any closing comments from the group as we wrap up today?
just wanted to say thank you so much for having us. It's been a pleasure to speak with everyone, and hope we get questions and applications from Clinton Genesee area. Absolutely.
Yes. 85,000 applications submitted already. I'm sure you could use a few more to go through.
Absolutely.
Carrie, Erica, Ty, anything from you guys?
Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Great. Very happy to help you spread the word. December 31st is the deadline. So get on the website, get your applications in, tell everyone that you know. If you're an employer, think about the employees that have been working hard for you and how you can help reinvest in them. Again, if you need any assistance or additional information, feel free to reach out to us at the Clinton Genesee Chamber of Commerce. We're here to help, and we'll help point you in the right direction. Thank you to our great panel today for the wonderful information, and we will see you back this afternoon for a congressional update with Congressman Dale Kildee. So if you're watching us live on Facebook or YouTube, we'll be back at 2 p.m. for that. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.